Hello, friends. I'm sharing this lesson with you as another video tutorial because we've got some people absent and we've got people finishing map testing. So, this is something you can listen to while you are working. Now, if you've gotten to this video tutorial, you have written your think sheet and you've filled in your rough draft that looks a lot like this one down here. Now, I want you to do a little bit of practice, but before you do the practice, I want to show you this quick little video to remind you why it's important to revise your rough draft.
You wrote down your ideas, so why aren't you done? Even the best writers like to revise. In the first published version of Shakespeare's Hamlet, the famous line, "To be or not to be, that is the question," is actually, "To be or not to be." There's the point. The more famous version came out a few years later. "That is the question" just sticks in your head much better than "there's the point." Shakespeare made a good revision. Like Shakespeare, sometimes you need to look at your writing with fresh eyes. Here are 3 tips for getting the most out of revising. Imagine you are someone else. Take an airplane view. Use a checklist. You need fresh eyes to revise. Try to imagine you are someone else reading your essay for the first time. You can be your best friend. You can be your teacher. You can be William Shakespeare. You can pretend to be anyone. Just try to read your essay as someone else would. When you read with fresh eyes, you'll want to focus on big things like adding supporting information, making sentences clearer, using transitions, and explaining ideas more. Try not to get caught up on small mistakes. You can fix those later when you edit your draft. Looks good. I can fix my spelling later. Finally, a checklist helps you remember what to look for as you revise. One good checklist is ARMS. ARMS stands for add, remove, move, substitute. You can add information or explain your ideas more. You can remove words or sentences you don't need. You can move information to the right paragraph, or even move paragraphs around. And you can substitute words or sentences to improve your essay. A checklist helps you remember all of the different ways you can make your writing even stronger. So remember, imagine you are someone else, take an airplane view, use a checklist. To revise or not to revise, there's no question about it.
Okay, so I thought that was a really good video. It gave you a lot of really good tips that were important. And before you even think about your rough draft, I want you to look at this one. Okay, let's look at the directions on this activity. And this will be a daily grade. So you're going to need to make sure you follow the directions. It says read the rough draft. Here's the rough draft I'm sharing with you. Use the rubric. Here's the actual rubric. It's attached that you're going to be using when I grade your poems. Even though the video talked about an essay, the same is true for the poem. And then answer the questions in the orange box. Does your rough draft look like this one? So I took a little peek at some rough drafts today, and a few that I saw, not all of them, but a few, looked very similar to this. I'm from cheeseburgers, from pancakes, from soccer, from hot sun. Well, you did complete the assignment and you turned it in. But now that you've done that, we're going to dig a little bit deeper. And we're going to use fresh eyes to see what you need to do to be able to hit that really good grade. Because your final poem will be a test grade, a major grade. And we know that you want to do well. So the first thing you're going to do is, if you read these directions, and I really want you to pay attention to this, using the ideas from the memory collage and the think sheet, Write the draft of your poem. This is the most important part. Remember, this is what you're going to do now, most of you, to add descriptions for each memory: sight, sound, taste, feelings, or smells. Now, if I look at this rough draft, I am from cheeseburgers, from pancakes, from soccer, from the hot sun. That doesn't really tell me anything. But like I said, you did fill in the line, but it's not enough to really let me understand who you are. So, what you're going to do is go through this rough draft. I highlighted the parts that the student added. Okay. And you're going to decide what you think. Everyone's last line is going to be, I'm from these memories that are buried deep within my heart. And then you're going to answer this question on your doc. Describe the rough draft. Is this rough draft the same or different from your rough draft? If you were to give this rough draft a grade, what would it be and why? Your answer should be 3 to 4 complete sentences long. So, what do you think about that? I mean, I know what I think about it so far, but I'm curious your thoughts. And of course, you would restate your question. You would say, my rough draft looks just like this, or my rough draft is very different. So you're going to restate these questions and answer right here. Now, here's the really cool part of this assignment. If you scroll down one more page, you've got the actual Where I'm From poem that I've used in class as an example. And what I did, sneaky me, is I took the actual stanzas and I made a very boring rough draft. Okay. So now let's look at this first paragraph, what it actually was from a student from last year. I am from cheeseburgers with tender bacon, fresh lettuce, and salty fries. Now that changes the entire first line in that stanza. I can smell the bacon. I know how it feels, the fresh, crispy lettuce and the salty, delicious fries. So here we've added some descriptive words. So your assignment on this second part of the assignment is to use your highlighting tool, which is right here, and you can pick a color, I don't care which one, and go through and highlight any adjectives or descriptive words or words that show imagery. From pancakes with sweet, there's one. Oops. So I'll go up and highlight that, and savory syrup with a side of eggs and crispy bacon. So you're going to go through and highlight all of those words. And the reason you're doing that is to remind you of how many things you can add if your rough draft looks like this. Okay, so you're going to read this sample. Then, here's a picture of the student from last year. He was a cool dude. Then you're going to answer this question. Again, this is a graded assignment, so you want to answer each question with complete sentences. Describe the difference between both drafts. Which is better and why? If you were to give this rough draft a grade, or this be a final draft too, what would it be and why? Now, for this one, I do want you to go back up here, pull up this rubric, and see, do you think that in this poem, we know the topic is where I'm from, but if you just say you're from cheeseburgers, that doesn't really tell us anything. So make sure it kind of makes sense. Maybe you want to put all of your discussions or memories about food in one stanza. Or maybe you want them to be separate. Maybe you have one about a grandmother or a couple lines about a grandmother that would tie in with food. Remember, you're the poet and you get to decide the creative parts. This is a big one, sensory language. That's where we see the salty fries and the crispy lettuce and the details. You're not just going to be from cheeseburgers. You might be from the restaurant that served the cheeseburgers that you begged your parents for when you were 3. I don't know. You decide. Okay, so in review, you are going to read this rough draft, say what you thought about it, answer all of the questions. Then you're going to read the actual poem and highlight any words that are descriptive or adjectives or even imagery words that let us know about the senses, the smell, touch, taste, hear. And then you're going to answer these questions. Now, at the end of this lesson, you should be able to go to your rough draft and do some major revision. Remember, the video talked about adding and removing and moving and substituting words, move things around, add things. The whole line, maybe even in your rough draft, would be filled up with great sensory words. So remember, another idea is to remember that you're somebody else reading this. What do they think? Do they read it and get a sense of who you are and your identity? The airplane view, make sure you have everything you want it to have, and the checklist, you have a handy checklist right here in the form of a rubric. Okay, so if you have questions, you can email me, or if you have questions, you can raise your hand if you're in the classroom. And I'm so excited to finally see your poem soon. All right, bye.